Hi. Good to be back. Today we shall be reading Chapter 40 Ambush on the Narmada. They aren't coming here, exclaimed the surprised Sati. Together with Kali, Ganesh and Kartik, she had been enjoying a family moment accompanied by rounds of sweet saffron milk. They were soon joined by Bhagirath, Chandraketu, Matali, Brahaspati and Chinardhwaj with some fresh news. The information received earlier from the Vasudevs had suggested that a fleet of nearly 50 ships had sailed out of Karachapa a few weeks back. They had expected them to head for Lothal, but the latest news was that the ships had turned south. It looks like they are heading towards the Narmada, said the Vasudev Pandit who had just walked in with the information. That can't be. A panic-stricken Kali looked at Ganesh. Kali had not agreed with Shiva's tactic of misleading the Maluhans by pretending to go to the Narmada and from there sailing on to Pariha. She was afraid that this would give the Maluhans a clue as to the possible route to Panchavati. Shiva had dismissed her concerns, saying that Vrigu knew that the river near Panchavati flowed from west to east, whereas the Narmada flowed east to west. Clearly, Panchavati was not on the Narmada itself. The Maluhans would know that, even if they sailed up the Narmada, they would have to pass the dense Dandak forests to be able to reach Panchavati, and doing so was fraught with danger without a Naga guide. Therefore, the news of the Maluhan navy sailing towards the Narmada left Kali with only one logical conclusion. They had discovered the route to Panchavati. How would they know the Narmada path to Panchavati? Asked a bewildered Ganesh. Kali turned on Sati. Your husband did not listen to me and stupidly insisted on sailing towards the Narmada. Kali, the Maluhans are in the know of all our goings and comings on the Narmada, said Sati calmly. It is no secret, but they would have no idea how to travel from the Narmada to Panchavati. Shiva has not given anything away. Bullshit, shouted Kali. And it's not just Shiva's fault, it's yours as well. I had told you to kill the traitor, Didi. You and your misplaced sense of honor will lead to the destruction of my people. Mossi, said Ganesh to Kali, immediately springing to his mother's defense. I don't think we should blame Ma for this. It is entirely possible that it's not General Parvateshwar, but Lord Vrigu, who has discovered the Narmada route. After all, he did know the Godavari route, right? Of course, Ganesh, said Kali sarcastically. It's not General Parvateshwar, and it obviously cannot be your beloved mother's fault either. Why would the most devoted son in the history of mankind think that his mother could make a mistake? Kali, whispered Sati. Kali continued her rant. Have you forgotten that you're a Naga? That you're the lord of the people, sworn to protect your tribe to the last drop of your blood?
Bhagirath decided to step in before things got out of hand.
Queen Kali, there is no point in going on about how the Maluhans discovered the Narmada route. What we should be discussing is what are we going to do next? How do we save Panchavati? Kali turned to Bhagirath and snapped. We don't need to be Maharishis to know what needs to be done. 50 ships will set sail tomorrow with all the Naga warriors on it. The Maluhans will regret the day they decided to attack my people. Kali, Ganesh and Kartik had assembled at Lothal's circular port, along with 100,000 men comprising all the Nagas and many Branga warriors, clambering aboard their ships rapidly. They knew the time was at a premium. Sati had come to the port to see her family off. She was going to stay in Lothal. She suspected the Maluhans might mount a siege on their city at the same time, to try and take advantage of her divided army. Kali approached Sati softly. Kali gave her a withering look and then turned her back on her sister, screaming instructions to her soldiers. "Board quickly! Hurry up!" Ganesh and Karthik stepped forward, bent to touch her feet and take their mother's blessings. "We'll be back soon, Ma," said Ganesh, smiling awkwardly. Sati nodded. "I'll be waiting." "Do you have any instructions for us, Ma?" asked Karthik. Sati looked at her sister, who still had her back turned stiffly towards her. "Take care of your Mausi." Kali heard what Sati said, but refused to respond. Sati stepped up and touched Kali on her shoulder. "I'm sorry about General Parvateshwar. I only did what I thought was right." Kali stiffened her shoulders. "Didi, one who clings to moral arrogance even at the cost of the lives of others is not necessarily the most moral person." Sati remained quiet, staring sadly at Kali's back. She could see Kali's 2 extra arms on top of her shoulders quivering, a sure sign that the Naga queen was deeply agitated. Kali turned and glared at her sister. "My people will not suffer for your addiction to moral glory, Didi." Saying this, Kali stormed off, verbally lashing out at her shoulders to board the ships quickly. Kanakhala couldn't believe what she was hearing. A real shot at peace. "This is the best news I have heard in a long time, Your Highness," said Kanakhala. Daksha smiled genially. "I hope you understand. This has to be kept secret. There are many who do not want peace. They think that the only way to end this is an all-out war." Kanakhala looked at Vidunmali standing next to Daksha. She had always assumed he was a warmonger. She was surprised to see him agreeing with the emperor. Kanakhala perhaps thought the emperor is referring to Lord Vrigu as the one who doesn't want peace with the Nilkant. "We have seen the loss of life and devastation caused by the minor battle that was staged outside Devagiri," said Daksha. "It was only Sati's wisdom that stopped it from descending into a massacre that would have hurt both Meluha and the Lord Nilkant. Maybe it's his love for Sati that is forcing the emperor's hand. He would never allow any harm to come to his daughter. Whatever the reason, I will support him in this peace initiative." "What are you thinking, Kanakhala?" "Nothing important, my lord. I'm just happy that you're willing to discuss peace." "You have your work cut out," said Daksha. "An entire peace conference has to be organized at short notice. We will name it, keeping with tradition, after a prime minister, the Yajna of Kanakhala." An embarrassed Kanakhala smiled. "You're most kind, my lord, but the name doesn't matter. What matters is peace." "Yes, peace is paramount. That is why you must take my instruction of secrecy seriously. Under no circumstances should the news of the peace conference reach Karachapa." Karachapa was where Lord Vrigu had stationed himself, along with King Dilipa of Ayodhya and General Parvateshwar. "Yes, my lord," said Kanakhala. A happy Kanakhala rushed to her office to get down to immediate work. Daksha waited for the door of his private office to shut before turning to Vidunmali. "I hope Sooth and his people will not fail me." "They will not, my lord," said Vidunmali. "Have faith in me. This will be the end of that barbarian from Tibet. Everyone will blame the Nagas. They are perceived as bloodthirsty, irrational killers in any case. No reasonable citizen here has been able to swallow that fraud Nilkant's championing of the Nagas. Just like they didn't accept the freeing of the Vikarmas, regardless of the greatness of Drapaku. The people will readily believe that the Nagas killed him. And my daughter will return to me, said Daksha. She will have no choice. We will be a family again. Delusions create the most compelling of beliefs. Shiva, Gopal and Tara stood on the foredeck of their merchant ship. The Parihans had helped in loading their precious merchandise onto the vessel. With everyone having said their goodbyes, the Nilkant had just ordered his ship to set sail on the Jam Sea. Shahrazad, said Gopal. How long? Tara, please. She interrupted the chief Vasudev. Sorry? My name is Tara now, great Vasudev, said Tara. Shahrazad was left behind in Pariha. Gopal smiled. Of course, my apologies. Tara it is. What was your question? I was wondering how long you had lived in Pariha. Too long, said Tara. Initially, I had gone on an assignment that Lord Vrigu had given me. I had thought that it would be a short stay. He had assigned me to work on the Daivi Astras with the Vayuputras and said I could return only when he gave his permission. But after I heard of Brahaspati's death, I saw no reason to return. Well, Brahaspati is not too far off now, said Gopal kindly. Just a couple of weeks more on the Jam Sea, and then we will be sailing east on Western Sea to Lothal and to Brahaspati. Tara smiled happily. Yes, said Shiva, playfully cracking a joke on the meaning of Jam. But it's all very confusing. The sea that you come to will be the sea that we go from now, and then we have to travel east on the Western Sea. Only the Holy Lake knows where we'll finally land up. Tara raised her eyebrows. I know, said Shiva. It's a terrible joke. I guess the law of averages catch up with everyone. Tara burst out laughing. It's not your joke that astonished me, though I agree it was really a terrible joke. Thank you, laughed Shiva softly. But what exactly were you surprised by? I'm assuming you think Jam means to come to. Shiva turned to Gopal with a raised eyebrow, for it was the chief Vasudev who had told him the meaning. Doesn't Jam mean to come to? Asked Gopal. That is what everybody thinks, said Tara, except for the Parihans. What do they believe? Asked Shiva. Jam is the Lord of Dharma, so this sea is actually the sea of the Lord of Dharma. Shiva smiled. But in India the Lord of Dharma is Yam, said Tara, completing Shiva's statement. Also the Lord of Death. Exactly. Is there a relationship between the two names, Yam and Jam? Was there a great leader or god called Jam in Pariha? I don't know about any relationship between the names, but in ancient times there was a shepherd called Jam who, blessed by the Ahura Mazda, went on to become a great king, one of the earliest in this area. He spread prosperity and happiness throughout the land. When a great catastrophe was to strike that would have destroyed the entire world, he is believed to have built an underground city which saved many of the people. The citizens of his realm later began to call him Jamshed. Why Shade? Shade means radiant, so Jamshed means the radiant Lord of Dharma.